So for the last few months, I've been uploading videos on how to do slappy grinds because I never knew how to do them up to a few months ago until I started these like little progression videos, progression sessions. Last couple of months, I've been uploading a lot of videos on slappy grinds, basically learning them from scratch. You guys have been giving me a lot of suggestions. So today, this video is gonna be a little bit of an update how I've been learning slappy grind tricks. I'm here at a new slappy spot with Andy Mac. Ooh, he's doing something gnarly behind me. I already know it. Almost every day after work, I go to Slappy Curve spot by my house and just been really working on my Slappy Crooks and my Boardslide to hurricanes. I never knew how to do these tricks, so I just been like going to the curves quite a lot. Like any skate trick or learning anything on skating, you just have to go a lot. I love doing slappy, so this is gonna be a little update on my progression of learning slappy grinds and how to learn new slappy tricks. Let's do some slappy grinds. All right, before we get into this session that we're on right now, let's show you some of my progression clips that I've been working on throughout the week. All right, those were my attempts from the last couple of weeks of doing slappy crooks. Let's try some right now and see how I'm getting them. Whoa, I got lucky. So we can talk about some of the progression, I guess, techniques that I've learned over the course of time with the slappy crooks. It really does help if you get your front foot up here on the nose and your back foot right in the middle of the board. Now, the next thing that I'm starting to figure out and kind of learning is just keeping my weight on top while still leaning back. So it's almost like a dugout move, like you're sliding into home base, you know what I mean, with your foot. That's kind of how it works, because before I was kind of getting into nose grind, and then it gets really hard to pop out, you know, hitting the back truck, and it's just really hard to get out of it once you're into like a nose grind. Where if you're in a crook, you could kind of like push forward and get out, which is the part that I'm working on. But the point that I'm getting at, and the thing that's really helped me and get me to where I am now, once you're riding up and you're in that good foot position, you want to hit the side of the curb just like any slappy, where your wheels are riding up into it, and you go straight into that truck right there. Once you're into that truck, because all your feet are right here, you're going to go right into that truck. The hardest part that I had to learn is just that dugout move. So you really have to press your truck in while you're leaning back at the same time. But then you're just grinding forward. From there, what Andy's kind of teaching me, and I'll get him to break this trick down as well, is that you basically need to push off your nose like a nollie in order to fall out of the crook grind.
Make sure I can even do it. I guess my biggest hesitation was I have this Chris LaRue shape, which is a little smaller nose than I usually ride, but doesn't seem to be that much of an issue. My technique for slappy crooked grinds, I guess, is pretty much approach it at an angle where you're going to be comfortable, like really leaning back on the curb, because you're using the momentum that you're coming at the curb at the angle to basically get yourself on top of your front truck, and then it's just all the momentum you had riding up that's going to be your cruising altitude pretty much. I don't know, it sounds sort of wonky, but that's pretty much it. I put my front foot right in the pocket there, not too high, not covering the bolts, but just sort of like right in that pocket. And then when you hit it, just sort of goes boom. That's not what it does. Really, you want this fucking front wheel. It's all about this, your front left wheel getting over the edge of the curb, and then you just pinch at that point, and then your weight's transferring to the other front wheel. Just sort of pinched in there like a pivot fakie almost. So a clown roll away, but that's the idea. It's definitely a good trick, a good slappy trick to learn, because it's really easy to get into. The hard part's definitely getting yourself out of it. It's easy to, when you're grinding, it's easy to get the front truck just like stuck on the curb, like I can't get off of it. But that's where just like the angle really comes in, because you're really jumping away at the angle you came in. Yeah.
Downhill. Oh yeah. Manual. Back to Slappy. So that's pretty much where I'm at now. That's my progression. Last couple weeks getting in Slappy Crooks. I'm really stoked. I'm not mad about it. My progression has been slow. Like I said, over the course of the last few months, I've been uploading videos all about slappy grinds. I didn't know how to do them at all before. So this is proof that you can learn slappy grinds and new tricks as well, just like me. Anybody can do it. We're gonna go to a slappy spot nearby, and then I'm gonna get into one more trick that I have been working on that is really, really fun. All right, we just got to the spot. Epic spot. Andy, I think, is trying to ollie into this thing right now.
Damn, it's so sketchy.
That's scary. Woo. Pretty gnarly. There is a curb on the top. Andy did post a clip on his Instagram, I believe, where he did a slappy grind and then ollied a gap afterwards. Pretty epic. There's a slappy curb in the front, but this thing, insane. The next slappy trick that I kind of wanted to talk about that I've been working on quite a lot lately, and it's a really fun one, is boardslide to a hurricane, like I mentioned earlier. Only trick you really need to know in order to do this is a boardslide on a curb, which is debatable if that's even a slappy. I don't know. If you slappy experts might have to correct me down in the comment section. Is a boardslide on a curb considered a slappy? I mean, I'm talking not even ollie into it. You literally just have to go up to the side, parallel with the curb, and then you churn your board onto it, and you're on. You don't even have to ollie, and that's something that is kind of like dangerous sometimes when you're thinking about skating or board sliding a curb. Is trying to ollie onto it is actually a lot harder. So just churning and getting into the board slide is all it really takes to get into a board slide. It's definitely like probably the first trick I ever learned on curbs. But what's really fun is the one extension I've been doing lately. So you go into board slide, and then you basically go into hurricane at the very end, and then you churn your board and roll away. But the tip, and this is something actually Dan Corrigan gave me a few suggestions on that really helped me in the very beginning. I didn't really understand it. Every time I tried to go get slappy grinds and work on my slappy progression, I have been getting closer. And now I can do it pretty consistently. It's not every single time, but I definitely feel like I have it to a point where I can give you guys a few suggestions of what I've figured out. So the one thing that you really want to try to do is get a good balanced board slide, because what does happen often in board slides is your board shoots out in front of you or sticks behind you, and that's just not going to work. You want to be able to get a good consistent board slide and sort of just have a good control of it, and you want your back truck to be kind of hanging closer to the curb. You don't really want to be in the middle board sliding, because it's a lot harder to get all the way to your truck. So the one thing I would say is when you get straight onto your board slide, ideally you get on pretty early, pretty close to your back truck, and it kind of helps you guide it anyways. You can totally keep sliding board slide while hitting your back truck and like going off it, kind of wiggling around a little bit. That's what I do. But the point for that is that towards the end, if you just simply, and this is going to be a big help here, if you have rails on your board, this is going to be a huge helpful for this trick. I think you can still do it without rails, but you're probably going to have to wax up the curb. But one thing that will help if you don't have rails, I think in my opinion, is you have more curve on your board. So when you have rails, it kind of just sits flat. on the curb. It slides better, but it just sits flat. Where if you don't have rails, you kind of like, you have more flex in the board, so you're able to get to it actually even better. But the point that I'm gonna get at, and the real hack to this trick, is basically as you're board sliding, you just basically almost lean back onto your board and press. Basically with your back foot, you press down on your heel really hard and shove it into the curve. So you're kind of pushing your back heel down and churning your board at the same time, same way that it looks. So basically you have your board right here, you lean back and push it in, and then it just starts grinding from there. The real tricky part is just churning out and getting not hung up on this side. So with that, I'll say you just have to get up high, try to get your board back over the curb and churn out. And this is a trick I'm constantly working on. I don't have it perfected, but like I said, I think the real hack is just getting into the board side with your back chuck pretty close to the curb. That way when you're ready to get into that hurricane, you really just push down on your heel and back, and you lift it into that. So it's really just going right here, boom, lock it right into the truck. What I've really found that helped me kind of like figure this trick out and not be scared to do it, because when you're sliding and going into your hurricane, it is a little bit scary and intimidating. I just stood on the curb with my board and tried to just do that. So like you can literally just stand on here and try to just do that motion and then churn out. You can just do this on a parking curb. It doesn't have to be like a long curb like this, but super fun trick. I hope you guys enjoy this. Hopefully you get out there and get some of these tricks. If you have any suggestions or tips for me or the community here on the channel, definitely leave them below for both of these tricks. Somebody also mentioned to me with the crooked grinds that they go to fakie quite a lot. So when they do slappy crooks, they go to fakie. It's an easier way to get out of it. So I might try that in the next video. I'll update you guys on my progression. As always, please smash that like button, support the channel, subscribe if you're not already, and maybe I'll make a little playlist in all my slappy progression videos. I feel like that would make sense. So you can go back and see how I really had no clue how to do slappies a few months ago, and now I'm kind of getting more comfortable and starting to learn tricks. So yeah, before I post this video, I'll put a little playlist up here with my slappy videos and my progression so far. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Mash.